Hey everyone, hope all is well. Welcome back to another episode of Career Conversations. Today we have Miss Rashi Murarka with us. Rashi has a CV which is as illustrious as it can get. She is a Bachelor's of Science graduate from LSR, and then she worked with Bain Company for broadly 4 years. And then she went to complete her MBA from the Indian School of Business, ISB, and she is right now working with McKinsey and Company as a junior associate. So my first question to Rashi, as part of this conversation, which is careers after ISB in management consulting, is um, what was your CGP at ISB?
So, see, I would say, like, for me personally, I did stay concerned with my CGPA till the time, it was getting considered in your resume reviews, or rather, like, resume submissions. And that time it was about 3.76.
Hmm.
But post that, like, it did like vary a little. So I would not want to disclose the final CGPA. That's okay.
So was it
But
was it a part of the top 10th percentile cohort, as we call it?
no, it was not.
Oh wow,
I,
you still got a
yeah.
McKinsey shortlist
Yeah. Sorry, are you talking about the one before resume submissions or after?
before resume submission. Good catch.
No, no, even before it was not.
Oh
It
wow.
was not. I was, in fact, like, I would say that even during my entire prep time, I had reached out to a lot of McKinsey folks who were already, like, who had already joined McKinsey, were just like one or two batches senior to me, to
Hmm.
understand typically, what is it that they look for. And what I was able to understand, and this is a misconception that a lot of students have, that, if you are a 4 pointer, or if you are only in the
Yeah.
top percent, you can actually make it. But that is not the truth. And having been associated with the firm as well for some time now, I can definitely say that it's more that they look at you holistically,
Hmm.
as from an academic standpoint as well. So
Hmm.
it's not just that one single 4 pointer that's going to make or break your case. 3.76, if you look at it very objectively, it is an above average score, right? So you're
Hmm.
doing better than most of your peers. And especially, like, if you compare it, I mean, year on year also, like, how the cohort is performing varies a lot. But
Hmm.
like, at least for the peer, for our cohort, like for the class of 23, the class before us, there were some changes in the curriculum because of which a lot of people were able to score a 4 pointer. So it kind of diluted the value of 4 CGPA.
Got
All
it.
of that being said, I would just say that yes, like, if you look at my background, right, like with LSR in the picture, with my 12th uh, score, etc., that just showed consistency from an academic standpoint. So it was just about maintaining that, instead of, like, being a top or 10% student or anything of that.
Hmm. Interesting. Um, so at ISB, I was reading your experience section for ISB education section. So you were a part of the Finance and Governance Council, which is a part of the Graduate Student Board,
Right.
and you did a pro bono consulting project, which might be in cahoots with the Net Impact Club.
Yes, that's correct.
Got it. Uh, so, a lot of people affiliate a consulting shortlist with a 4 on 4 GPA, which you demystified for us. And a lot of people say that you have to become the president or the vice president of a student club, win a lot of case comps if you want to land a consulting shortlist at ISB. So, is that entirely true?
I would actually, like, I mean, you bring up a really good point with both academics and positions. And, like, one thing I definitely would like to emphasize on, and this is I would say, a misconception that a lot of people hold during placements. What you do at ISB does not define what is going to happen during placements. Like, even prior to ISB, leadership that you may have showcased even during your work experience, right? So it's like, it's a factor of everything, and that together kind of shows who you are. So just being a president or vice president does not really have that great of an impact. It's about what you do. Definitely, like, it adds to it. Like, I will not take away the value of it, but that being said, it's not. what you do at ISB that will guarantee you a position anywhere. It is also ISB plus everything that you've done before.
Mm. Talking about everything that you've done before, I'm pretty sure you believe that your experience with Bain was instrumental in you getting a shortlist with McKinsey. But since you've worked both, let's say in the mid office or the back office with one consulting firm, as well as the front office now with McKinsey, what's the difference between a front end role and a back end role?
So I think there are like a lot of differences for
Hmm.
sure. Starting with, I would say your contribution.
Hmm.
Like that'll be the very first thing that I would probably like to highlight.
Hmm.
Um, Both in terms of how you are working, right? Like in a front-end consulting, it is a lot more of an individual contributor role, where even though you're working in like small teams of 3 or 4 people, there is an entire end-to-end work stream that you will be responsible for, versus in a back end or a mid office setup where an entire team is working on the same work stream. So there's a lot of like cross collaboration and rather, I would say, team effort that goes into that kind of work. So
Hmm.
that in itself is a very, very big difference because the ownership is a lot higher. Like even with like no matter what your position is, right? Like no matter how senior or junior you are in the firm, your ownership is extremely high.
Hmm.
And second is also the kind of work that you're doing. So as like there is very like this term that's very commonly used, the blue sky thinking. That is something where you need to come up with a solution for anything out of the blue, right? Like
Hmm.
it's there is no defined path that you can take for a lot of problems. So that is a skill set that definitely gets developed in front end consulting a lot more than it does in mid office, because mid office again, like the at least the structure is more specialization focused, where you are working on very defined, like slightly repetitive problem statements. You
Hmm.
know what you have to do, how you want to go about it. And
Hmm.
there are consultants who have kind of structured that for you.
Hmm.
That is a very big difference. Like for us, like at least for mid office, there is already an interface of
Hmm.
consultants who are putting that problems, like, they're putting their problem solving skills into place and structuring the ask to you, versus us, where clients are coming to us without any kind of structure, just a vague ask, and we are the ones who are putting it into
Hmm.
uh,
Got it.
structure.
Very interesting. And let me ask you a controversial question now. Do you think you needed an ISB MBA to pivot to front-end consulting?
See, there I would say it entirely depends on where you were pre-ISP.
Hmm.
So, for example, Bain at least they do give opportunity to people who have been a part of Bain capability network for some time
Hmm.
to, through like an official route that they have, where they let you pivot to
Hmm.
the front end. But that is only if you are in already like a company like Bain. It would
Hmm.
not mean that you're in an industry role and then you get to automatically get picked up for a front end consulting role.
Hmm.
So I would say pivoting does become difficult, and
Hmm.
having worked in front end, I also understand why. Like if as somebody who, as you mentioned, right, like I'm a BSc statistics honor graduate. So theoretically speaking, I did not, at least before ISB, have like that theoretical understanding even of a
Hmm.
lot of things that go together, for you to holistically understand how business works. So I
Hmm.
think that lack of knowledge is something, or rather, knowing that through ISB is something that has definitely helped me perform better,
Hmm.
uh, in front end consulting, looking at things more holistically.
Got it. And consulting interviews, talking about them. Any
Hmm.
major difference in a consulting interview for an undergrad student uh, and a B school student? I mean, the guesstimates and the case interviews, the broad construct remains the same. One difference would definitely be difficulty. But anything else barring that?
I mean, definitely, like, I mean, the typical your case interviews, guesstimates, they do remain the same.
Hmm.
But what gets added on is
Hmm.
behavioral questions, right? Like they also they do see what you have done. Like from an undergrad, the expectation would be a lot less.
Hmm.
in terms of what they have done, because obviously they've not had very formal experiences, one or two internships at max, and whatever leadership exposure they've had it in college, probably through some
Hmm.
uh, societies. Um, but once you've worked, that gets added on, right? Like, so there are also skills that you've acquired through work,
Hmm.
which which you will be tested on
Hmm.
during these interviews. So I would say like that is definitely an add-on factor while assessing a candidate.
Got it. And McKinsey versus Bain, any differences in terms of work life, quality of work, anything else?
Um, I would say it's comparing apples to oranges here because I no, hear me out on this. So, if you were to ask me between McKinsey front end and Bain front end, right? Then definitely I can comment on it. But
Hmm.
I also thought about this like a lot when I
Hmm.
like when I had initially joined, and it's actually not very easy to compare because Bain BCN at least is global facing. There
Hmm.
are you are working with international like consulting teams, global consulting teams, and I mean the nature of work, the expectation, everything is so much more different than what a front end team working with a lot of Indian clients would do. So
Hmm.
I feel that it I mean maybe like a Bain consulting front end consulting would be very similar to a McKinsey front end consulting, or an MCKC might be very similar to a Bain BCN setup, right? But
Hmm.
these two not exactly comparable for from a perspective of work life or expectations, because they're very different entities in their own self.
Got it. And if I rephrase my question and ask you McKinsey front end versus Bain front end, any difference?
Not, I mean, again, like not having worked with Bain front end, it's again difficult for me to comment. Like, had I been in that situation, and I
Hmm.
always like believe this personally, that everybody has a different experience even in the same place, right? So
Very true.
I do not want to comment on it based on whatever hearsay, like, based on
Hmm.
hearsay from my colleagues who are currently in Bain front end. So
Hmm.
difficult to comment,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, journey. It's been a journey for me for sure.
Got it. Any skills that you cultivated after getting into consulting, be it at Bain or McKinsey, which you in hindsight believe would have been easier to cultivate in college or in ISB if you had learned those skills beforehand?
Understood. Yeah, I think so my journey, at least at Bain, was a very, very I mean like the learning was extremely steep there. And
Hmm.
the reason for that was like very basic skills like Excel skills, PPT making skills, right? These were some things that I had not at all like learned well, at least when I was in college.
Hmm.
And initially, I think I struggled a bit, but on the job, like whatever I know today is like I would owe it all to Wayne because I learned everything that I learned over there.
Hmm.
So if somebody was to apply, I would just say it helps you for sure. Like, I mean, there is a very nurturing environment in the company, and people do understand that you're a fresher out of college, and you might not know everything right off the bat, but I would just suggest that definitely if you do know some things beforehand, like it helps. It
Hmm.
helps you feel more confident when you're, starting your journey.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think other than that, like I would just say participating, even at ISB, I would say just like participating in case competitions and all, not because you need it on your CV, but it just helps with thinking in the way that you would once you even join, when once you're at workplace, right? Like you're thinking about problem statements, you're discussing with colleagues, you're taking ownership of something within, the different solutions that you guys are coming up with. So just like that, it just helps you get a sense of how life would be once you join consulting. And that is the another thing that I would say. But yeah, I mean, definitely, like there's a lot of learning on the job as well that happens, and it's very difficult to do all of that before you join. I mean, then what is even the point, right?
Exactly.
Of working.
Understood. And last question from my side. Anything about ISB that an outsider would not know, be it life at ISB or careers after ISB? Two things.
Okay. Um, I would have to think about this one a little bit.
that only an alum or a student will know?
Hmm. I think again, I would like, I mean, this is probably me repeating myself,
Hmm.
but when you join ISB, right? Like one, I would say like this is just a takeaway for me personally. I would just say be a little bit more realistic in your expectations when you join ISB about what will be life afterwards. Like, I personally feel that a lot of people felt slightly disappointed after, their journey at ISB whenever they joined their first job.
Hmm.
And I feel that also came from a lot of expectations about how life would just suddenly become amazing,
Hmm.
and you will be like, you will be picking out from like multiple opportunities, but that is not true. Like, it takes time. It is a long term investment that you're doing.
Hmm.
And second, as I just mentioned earlier as well, right, like please do not think that everything you do at ISB defines your future completely. There is a lot of things that you have done before, so that holds true for both those instances where you become overconfident because of some things that you've achieved at ISB,
Hmm.
or you become underconfident because you feel like you're lagging behind from your peers,
Hmm.
and kind of discount what you've done before. So I would say like these are the few things that I would just say, like, mentally to prepare yourself for
Hmm.
that entire journey, at least the placement times, which is any which way stressful, right?
Yeah.
It's important that you keep that in mind.
So a follow-up on that, a lot of people say that broadly 60% of ISB, the recent grads, 60% of them changed their first job within 6 months of graduating, which you also alluded to.
Hmm.
The reason for that frustration or change is their salary expectation not met, or are they looking to get a better work-life balance somewhere else?
I think, as I said again, right, like if you start with like a very high expectation of a jump,
Hmm.
and see, like, whoever you're competing with on campus, everybody has that ISB tag. So what
Exactly.
differentiates you, right? Like, it's whatever you've done in the past. And that is why, like, I think those expectations not being met in the first job lead
Hmm.
you to feeling a little disappointed. And I've also seen instances where people have just gone back to their original, like the job
Oh
they
wow.
had before ISB. And
Hmm.
that's happening with a lot of my friends right now. So I feel that that is just a factor of this only, that expectations not being met and coming with very high expectations to begin with.
Hmm. Got it.
So I think that if people just kind of like mentally tune themselves
Hmm.
to
Got it.
not feel like they're being led down a path that they had a lot of hopes from.
And I think once you are applying off campus, you are only so your ISB brand and tag really matters a lot there, because not everybody else who you are competing with off campus or laterally will have that tag. So your mobility to switch to a better role or a better package or a better positional responsibility is much higher.
Yeah, I think it's not just the tag. I'll tell you
Hmm.
why. What I feel ISB really helps with
Hmm.
is, and if you, I mean, I don't know if you agree with this fact or not, but when you're applying for any job, right? Like, there are a lot of portals that you can apply through,
Hmm.
but having an in that firm, somebody putting a referral for you, putting in a name
Yeah.
for you, matters a lot. It increases your chances by a lot. And that is what ISB does.
Hmm.
That kind of a network that you get of people who are already placed in companies that you would be interested in and willing to help out a fellow ISB. That is where the tag comes in, is what my thinking is, rather than
Awesome.
the tag itself.
Got it. Awesome. And thank you so much for this very insightful conversation. And I'm 100% sure that this will help all ISB and consulting aspirants.
Yeah, happy to help.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care.